Talkapolis, the social media TV network for your city.
Welcome back to Political Soup. Still Crom Carmichael, still Mike Pickett, still Brian. There's the possibility, the distinct possibility, that Nashville could develop a mass transit system that is slightly better than that of most third world countries. I won't say that ours is below third world countries now, but it's running pretty even if you've tried to take a bus around town. If you've tried to take a train from West Nashville into town or beyond West Nashville into town, you're probably still waiting for it because it's not there. But some of the more recent proposals, we've got a bus rapid transit system that's been proposed, and I believe the Mayor Carl Dean's administration is looking into that, how much it's going to cost. Also trying to finish the process with the Federal Transportation Administration to where we could possibly get $75 million in federal government money for it. We've also got light rail, streetcar, and trolleys that are possibilities, but those seem to be a little more expensive and a little more difficult to get into. Mike, what do you think is the most likely scenario for us to develop a little more mass transit here in Nashville?
Well, Mayor Dean seems very determined to bring about what he calls the AMP, which is a rapid transit trolley that'll run from East Nashville near the stadium or a little bit farther out from LP Field, across the bridge and down what is now and will be, I guess, West End, and then maybe Harding Road, and then stop around White Bridge Roads, kind of in the area where the Kroger and Target and all that are in that neighborhood. And the idea being that this will carry a lot of people who would normally drive their cars by train as the city's population grows and the traffic gets worse.
Okay. As we're looking at that, what are the odds of expansion? How long or how much does it cost to expand? How long would it take to develop the trolley system that we're looking at right now?
I think the cost that's on the table right now is about $75 million. I think the proposal before the Metro Council or as part of the mayor's budget, $300 million budget is $7.5 million for the engineering work on this, and then it'll be added on to. There's also a lot of federal matching money and state matching money, which on the federal side is greater than the Metro contribution.
I'm trying to understand. I've seen little drawings and whatnot about what they're saying. They're talking about putting bus lanes. Is it buses or trolleys, or it doesn't matter, but they're vehicles that run, and then another one comes up and it runs, and another one comes up, and so you got maybe 8 to 10 of them heading downtown in the morning.
Right.
Kind of one after another.
Back and forth, yeah.
Well, is it back and forth, or is it just one direction? Do they take out 2 lanes to put them in, or is it just everything's one way in the morning and then everything's out the other way in the afternoon?
Good question.
Okay, neither one of us know the answer.
No.
But anyway, if you think here's the part that's confusing to me. Let's assume, just for purposes, well, it doesn't matter whether it's one way or 2 ways. You're going to have cars that are going to be heading downtown that are to the right of these buses. Let's call them buses. And then you're going to have vehicles that are coming out from town that'll be also on the right, because they're coming out. But if they wanted to, so the other side of the buses, but if either one of them wants to turn to the left, then they're going to have to cross not only 2 lanes of traffic, but bus lanes too.
I would assume so, although, if you look at a city like Memphis, they've got trolleys running all through their downtown, and you can drive in the trolley lane. I don't think that'll be the case here, but you can cross over the trolley tracks because they're embedded in the ground.
Right.
And so there are ways to deal with that. I don't know what the plan is for this.
But the turn lanes, I've heard that the turn lanes will be done away with.
So
when somebody pulls up to a busy intersection and have to turn left, the question is, will they pull into the bus lane to turn left, or will they have to stay to the right of the buses and then turn across the buses? I would think there'd be just lots of accidents. The other part of it that's interesting to me is that in the absence of federal dollars to do it, there doesn't seem to be the interest in doing it here financing it locally, which is
Well, it's certainly a debate. There was an issue raised by one council member who wants to put it on Charlotte, for instance, but I think the mayor feels pretty confident it's going to happen, that he will gain the support he needs, and some of the graphics that they just flashed at us indicate that there will be places where you can cross the tracks.
And it's one of the things I had read in looking at this a little bit was that they were going to designate the lanes, and the first idea was just to paint the lane the crimson, which we can see on the graphic there. But one of the officials involved, or who was considering this, had said that just painting a lane isn't going to keep people out of it. So you either need to do a good job of policing that and throwing a fine at somebody whenever they get into it, or his suggestion was to completely separate it from the rest of traffic with a small curb, or creating a lane where the trolley would essentially sit down into that lane and you wouldn't be able to drive into it or across it, with the exception of, I guess, at certain points you would have to be able to cross it.
So there'll be certain streets you can turn left, and most of the others you can't. In other words, if there's not a major intersection, you won't be able to turn left.
That's if the curb setting down thing happened, that was kind of my understanding, but again, there weren't a lot of details about it.
I'm going to make a confession. I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio. That's not my confession. But my confession is that for years there I traveled by public transportation, loved it. It's not an easy city to get around in. I went to school a lot of times. I either hitchhike or ride the bus. One was cheaper than the other, and at the time hitchhiking was perfectly acceptable. But the public transportation system there let me, as a 16-year-old kid, get on a train and ride downtown and get off and go to the Cleveland Indians game or the Browns game without ever having to drive anywhere. Since I've moved to Nashville, I've been on a bus 0 times. I rode the downtown trolleys, which run around downtown, but I've never ridden a bus. I've seen Mayor Dean, to his credit, taking the bus in the mornings. A lot of mornings when I drive Hillsborough Road, I see him waiting for the bus, or I assume he's waiting for the bus. I don't know what else he's doing on that corner.
Mayor Dean has the good fortune that once he gets downtown, if he needs to go someplace, he just calls his driver in his car and they pick him up and take him someplace.
But in the meantime, I think the only quiet moment of the day he has is standing there on the bus stop. But how many times have you ridden the bus here?
Not very often. I'm like you, though. I've hopped on the trolleys some downtown.
Well, I'll confess, I don't think I've ever ridden a bus here, and I've probably ridden hundreds of them in Cleveland.
Yeah, this is going to be, I'm a little ambivalent because I think the traffic is going up and down West End is already pretty darn heavy. My sense of it is that this will make it more complicated, not less complicated. That's just my sense of it. And the only people who will ride the bus will be the ones who can walk from their house to get to it. Now then, I think when we were getting ready for the show, you were saying that there are a lot of neighbors who are very upset about where the parking lots will be.
Right, and I think that's an issue they have to work through, yeah.
So
it has its issues. I like the idea of public transportation. I think the city's going to need it. We're very lucky to live in a city where you have 6 interstate intersections coming into the city with 3 major interstates. A lot of cities don't have that, not where I grew up, that's for sure. So this will become needed over time. It's just a matter of getting the public acceptance and selling everybody on how it's going to go down, and certainly the cost.
Could they, when the buses operate in the morning, the parking lanes, if you're going downtown from the west side, the parking lanes, you can't park in the parking lanes until a certain hour in the morning, correct? Like 9 o'clock or something?
Well, they'll have park and ride areas that they're going to create.
No, I'm talking about even now.
Oh, as it is now?
It's I believe 9 o'clock that it's either a loading zone or
they're
it's
very
a
limited
traffic
in what you
lane
can do because they want to leave those lanes open.
How many people ride there are a lot of people, obviously, that live on the bus route now that could get on the bus and ride it downtown.
Right.
How busy are the buses now? Is MTA ridership high, low, medium? Do we even know?
I don't know, but I would not think that the demographic is right.
I'm talking about from West End going downtown.
Right. Well, I'm talking about from Belmead to downtown. I just don't see the demographic being right.
No, I think you're completely right about that. And another thing is that
why would people ride this this bus configuration if they won't ride the current one?
There's not a good reason that I
There's
can
got to
see.
be a sales job done to convince them that this is the right thing to do. If I worked, if I lived closer to West End, I live about a mile from West End, and I worked downtown and didn't need my car, I'd be all over this. And I think a lot of people I work with would be all over this if they don't have to drive anywhere. It's just a matter of educating them, informing them, and selling them on the cost. And I think the traffic's going to get worse over time. They say eventually Nashville's going to double in size, and this is going to become more important. So it's a matter of marketing, really. And I may happily walk that mile rather than ride after the parking rates go up and the gas rates go up and so on. Right now, I'm one of those spoiled Nashvillians that likes to ride my car.
Well, I think we've covered about as much of that as we can for today with the limited amount of information that has come out. Hopefully, whenever the Dean administration gets their case ready for the Federal Transportation Administration, we'll have some more information. We can talk about that further. Coming up next, National Security Administration. Why? Be right back with Political Soup.